Okay, let's unpack this. Navigating the world of weight loss advice can feel like wading through quicksand, right?
Absolutely. It's everywhere. One day, fat's the enemy. The next, it's carbs.
Then fasting, or you just need this one magic superfood, it's incredibly overwhelming.
Yeah, trying to figure out what's real and what's just, well, noise. Especially with social media and headlines.
Exactly. It's hard to know who or what to trust. So, for this deep dive, you've given us a fantastic set of source materials, some solid research digging into these common weight loss myths.
That's right, and our mission today is really to cut through that confusion, look at the science based on this info, and, get to the core of what actually seems to work.
For healthy, sustainable weight management.
Oh, exactly.
Prepare yourself for some aha moments, folks, because we might just debunk something you thought was true. Let's dive in.
So, to set the stage, the information we have starts by highlighting just how prevalent overweight and obesity are.
Yeah, it mentions some pretty sobering Australian stats. Roughly 75% of men, 60% of women.
And about a quarter of children, too, classified as overweight or obese.
Wow, that's huge. And the sources link this directly to increased risks, right? Like heart disease, diabetes.
Yeah, obesity-related disorders.
Right.
So understanding this isn't just about aesthetics, it's fundamentally about health.
Precisely. And despite all the complicated diets out there, the core principle, as the material makes clear, is actually quite simple.
Yeah, no magic potion or secret food combination.
And that fundamental truth, which often gets lost, it really comes down to energy balance, doesn't it?
It does. Calories in versus calories out. Or kilojoules, using the Australian term in the source.
Right. The material emphasizes that weight change happens when you consume more energy than your body uses.
Take in more kilojoules than you expend, you gain weight. Do the reverse, you lose weight.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And critically, it happens regardless of where that energy comes from: fats, carbs, proteins.
Yes, and the sources break down the energy density, which is key. Carbs and protein are about 17 kilojoules per gram. Alcohol's higher, 29 kilojoules per gram. But fat is the most energy dense, 37 kilojoules per gram.
Whoa, it would double the carbs or protein almost. That difference really hits home with the example in the material.
The bread versus butter one.
Yeah, it's good. 35 grams of bread, about 360 kilojoules, but 35 grams of butter.
Over 1,000, 162 kilojoules. Nearly 3 times the energy for the same weight.
So it's not that fat itself is inherently bad, but you really need to watch portion sizes because it packs so much energy.
Exactly. And of course, how much energy you need varies massively.
Right, based on age, size, gender, activity level.
Genetics, pregnancy, breastfeeding, lots of factors,
Yeah.
not one size fits all.
Okay, so understanding this energy balance thing is crucial. It helps us see why so many popular diet myths just don't really hold up.
Let's tackle the big ones.
Myth number 1, carbohydrates make you fat. You hear this constantly.
It's maybe the most persistent myth right now.
Yeah.
But the sources are clear. Carbs are essential. They're your body's preferred fuel.
Preferred fuel for your brain, central nervous system, kidneys.
And vital for exercise, too. You need them.
In fact, the Australian dietary guidelines recommend getting, 45 to 65% of your energy from carbs?
That's right. A significant chunk.
So if it's not the carb itself, what's the issue people are having?
Well, often it's the amount we eat, the portion size, or maybe more importantly, what we add to them.
Ah, like high-fat sauces on pasta, loads of butter on bread.
Exactly. Or cheese. Those things pile on the energy, the kilojoules. That's what contributes to weight gain, not the potato or the pasta itself.
And choosing the right kind of carbs matters too, right? The source mentions low GI carbs.
Yes, low glycemic index carbs, things like whole grains, legumes, fruit, they digest slower.
Which helps you feel fuller for longer.
Fuller for longer and gives you a more stable blood sugar response. Better all around, really.
Okay, so carbs aren't the villain, but that leads people to the next idea, drastically cutting them out. Myth number 2, low-carb diets are the best or safest way to lose weight.
Yeah, things like Atkins, keto, incredibly popular.
Yeah.
And the sources do acknowledge they can cause faster weight loss, initially, short term.
But there's a catch right at the start.
There is. A lot of that initial quick drop on the scale isn't fat, it's water.
Water, how does that work?
When you slash carbs, your body uses its stored glycogen. And for every gram of glycogen, your body holds on to about 3 grams of water.
Ah, I see. So as the glycogen goes.
The water goes with it, so you shed water weight fast, looks great on the scales, but it's misleading. It's not primarily fat loss at that stage.
That's a really key detail. So the initial speed is deceptive. What about the long run?
Well, over the longer term, the research cited suggests weight loss results on low-carb diets end up looking pretty similar to other diets that just restrict overall energy.
But with potentially more downsides.
Quite a few listed in the material, yes. Short-term risks like micronutrient deficiencies, constipation because you're often low on fiber, fatigue, mood swings.
Nausea, dizziness, bad breath. Not fun.
Definitely not. And then there are potential long-term risks mentioned too.
Such as?
Things like weight regain, the classic yo-yo effect, bowel problems, and, concerningly, potentially increased risk of high cholesterol and heart disease, especially if the diet is high in saturated fats and processed meats.
Right, depending on how you do the low-carb diet.
Exactly. There's also mention of potential kidney strain from processing excess protein and maybe even effects on bone density from calcium loss.
And for the really strict ones, like keto, where fat can be up to 90%,
the sources point out that super high fat intake can stress the liver and significantly raise bad LDL cholesterol. That directly increases heart disease risk.
it really hammers home why getting proper evidence-based advice is so important before starting something that restrictive.
Absolutely critical.
Okay, moving on. What about these ideas about combining foods? Myth number 3, single food diets work, or you shouldn't mix certain food types.
The food combining rules,
Right.
like only eating grapefruit or never eating carbs and protein together.
Yeah, those kinds of things.
Well, our digestive system is pretty amazing, actually. It's designed to handle mixed meals perfectly well. It has enzymes ready for carbs, proteins, and fats all at the same time.
And the source actually says combining foods can sometimes help.
Yes, like vitamin C helping you absorb iron better from plant foods. That's a combination benefit.
Plus, as we already discussed, very few foods are purely one thing anyway. Most are a mix.
Exactly right.
Okay, how about the lure of superfoods? Myth number 4, certain superfoods cause weight loss.
Yeah, superfood is largely a marketing term, as the sources point out. There's no standard scientific definition.
So no magic bullet food.
Sadly, no. No single food magically burns fat or significantly ramps up your metabolism on its own.
Is there anything that comes close?
Well, fiber gets a mention. It provides bulk and helps you feel full with very few kilojoules, so it has special qualities in that sense.
But you get fiber from lots of normal healthy foods, right?
Right.
Fruits, veggies, whole grains.
Exactly. Things often labeled superfoods, like kale or goji berries, are usually nutrient-dense, which is great, but they aren't weight loss miracles by themselves.
They're healthy as part of a balanced diet.
Precisely. The overall dietary pattern is what matters most, not just one trendy ingredient.
Right. Okay, what about meal timing? Myth number 5, skipping meals helps you lose weight.
This is a common tactic people try, thinking fewer meals equals fewer kilojoules.
But it often backfires.
Yeah, the material suggests it usually does. Skipping meals can leave you tired, lethargic, you miss nutrients.
And then you get ravenous later.
Exactly. You often end up overeating or making poor, high-energy choices later on, which totally cancels out any savings. Unlikely to work long-term.
That leads us nicely to another timing strategy. Myth 6, intermittent fasting is inherently better than traditional dieting.
OEF has become hugely popular. You know, the 5.2 diet, alternate day fasting, time-restricted, eating like 16.8.
Yeah, eating only within an 8-hour window.
Right. The evidence cited in the sources shows that, while IF can definitely lead to weight loss,
the results are generally pretty similar to just consistently eating fewer kilojoules overall.
that seems to be the case. It doesn't appear to have some unique metabolic advantage for weight loss itself.
So it's likely effective because it's just another way to reduce total energy intake.
That's what the sources suggest. By shrinking the eating window or having low kilojoule days, you naturally tend to consume less overall.
But the key, like any diet, is whether you can stick with it.
Sustainability is everything. If the city isn't automatically easier or better for everyone long-term compared to continuous energy restriction.
Makes sense. What about cutting out whole food groups? Myth 7, eliminating specific groups like meat or gluten causes weight loss.
The sources are really clear here. Weight loss comes from reducing your total energy intake. It's not about eliminating one specific food type or group per se.
Okay, but hang on. Aren't plant-based diets generally linked to lower body weights?
Yes. The material notes that healthy plant-based diets are associated with lower obesity risk.
That's true.
But just being vegetarian or vegan doesn't automatically guarantee weight loss. You can still gain weight.
If you're eating lots of high-fat or sugary plant-based foods or just really large portions.
Exactly. Think vegan junk food, lots of oils, nuts, large servings. those can still be very energy-dense.
And what about going gluten-free for weight loss?
The sources state quite firmly, a gluten-free diet is medically necessary only for people with celiac disease or diagnosed non-celiac gluten sensitivity.
So cutting it out otherwise isn't helpful.
Not only is it not necessarily helpful for weight loss, but you risk missing out on important nutrients found in gluten-containing grains, B vitamins, minerals, and especially fiber.
And the gluten-free alternatives can sometimes be worse.
Often, yes. Processed gluten-free products can be higher in fat and sugar and lower in fiber, potentially even leading to weight gain.
It seems like a recurring theme is restricting what isn't as crucial as restricting how much energy overall.
That's a great way to put it.
Uh-huh.
Which brings us to a huge source of often overlooked energy: drinks. Myth 8. All drinks are okay in moderation.
Ah, the liquid kilojoules. This is a big one.
It really is.
Yeah.
The sources point out many drinks contribute significant empty kilojoules energy without much nutritional value.
Water's best, obviously.
Water's always the winner. Plain milk is good too, nutrients plus energy. But beyond that.
Soft drinks, juices, those fancy coffees.
Exactly. Sugary sodas, slushies, sports drinks, flavored milks, packaged iced teas, coffees loaded with syrups and cream. They add up incredibly fast.
Hundreds, maybe thousands of kilojoules without even making you feel full.
Precisely. The material has a striking example with cola.
Oh, yeah.
Cutting back from 2 600 milliliter bottles a day to just one 200 milliliter mini can saves around 1,740 kilojoules daily.
Wow, daily over a year. That's
Essentially over 17 kilograms of weight loss. Just from changing that one drink habit,
Yeah.
it shows the massive impact.
huge impact. And alcohol is particularly tricky too, isn't it?
It is. Firstly, it packs a punch. Energy-wise, 29 kilojoules per gram, remember, almost double carbs or protein.
And secondly,
Well, let's be honest. After a drink or two, our inhibitions tend to drop. We might make poorer food choices we wouldn't otherwise make.
yeah, the late night kebab effect.
Something like that.
Okay, finally, let's touch on those trendy labels. Myth 9. Clean, raw, or organic foods are the key to weight loss.
These words sound healthy, and often minimally processed foods are good choices, fitting well with the guidelines.
But the label itself isn't a guarantee.
No. Organic doesn't mean low kilojoule. An organic cake or cookie can still be packed with sugar and fat, making it very energy dense.
So again, it comes back to the overall dietary pattern.
It really does. The sources emphasize following a balanced guide, like the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating mentioned, rather than relying on labels or chasing specific clean foods for weight loss.
Okay, so we've busted quite a few myths. But with all this conflicting info constantly swirling around celebrity diets, quick fixes, detoxes, how do people find reliable guidance?
That's a crucial point the sources address: the importance of science and credibility. They acknowledge just how much non-credible stuff is out there.
Often pushed by people with something to sell, not necessarily genuine health advice.
Exactly. Celebrity endorsements, dramatic personal stories,
Yeah.
they aren't scientific evidence.
True expertise, the material stresses, comes from looking at the actual research, the studies involving many people.
Not just anecdotes or profit motives.
And that's where qualified health professionals fit in, like dietitians.
Yes, the sources really highlight the value of accredited practicing dietitians. They provide evidence-based advice tailored to you.
They cut through the noise and give guidance based on your specific needs, your lifestyle, using actual science.
Which is so different from the everyone's an expert online situation we see so much.
Right. So pulling all this together, what is the real key to weight loss, according to the sources?
Well, it's definitely not about finding some complicated, super restrictive fad diet or a quick fix.
It's more about slow and steady.
Slow, sustainable weight loss, achieved through small, manageable changes to both eating habits and physical activity.
And the sources suggest looking beyond just the number on the scale, too.
Yeah, focusing on waist circumference is mentioned as a really good measure of health risk, aiming for under 94 centimeters for men, under 80 centimeters for women. It's a practical target.
So what are some of those concrete, practical changes the sources suggest people can actually make?
They list several really useful ones. First, avoid crash dieting. It nearly always leads to regaining the weight, and sometimes more.
Focus on variety instead, based on healthy eating guidelines.
Yes. And be really mindful of portion sizes, especially for those energy-dense things like fats, sugars, alcohol.
Cut back on refined and added sugars. Boost fruit, veg, whole grains.
Cut back or ditch the empty kilojoules from sugary drinks and booze. Eat less takeaway and processed snacks.
And importantly, don't feel you need to eliminate whole food groups unnecessarily. Choose whole, less processed options across the board.
And try to maintain a regular eating pattern rather than skipping meals.
Makes sense. And the other side of the energy balance coin.
Physical activity. Gotta move more.
The sources suggest aiming for about 30 minutes of activity most days.
And just generally increasing daily movement too, right? Taking stairs, walking more.
All those little things add up.
Ultimately, it keeps coming back to that core principle, doesn't it? To manage weight, energy shouldn't consistently exceed energy out.
It's simple in theory.
Yet the diet industry has made it seem incredibly complex.
Exactly. And if you are feeling overwhelmed or unsure how to apply this to your own life, the sources strongly recommend talking to your GP or, even better, a registered dietitian.
To get that personalized, evidence-based advice.
Tailored just for you.
So the big takeaway seems to be, healthy, lasting weight management isn't some secret unlocked by fads or superfoods.
No magic tricks.
It's really about consistent, informed choices. Small changes regarding how you fuel your body and how you move it, all built on that basic science of energy balance. It's fascinating, isn't it? How straightforward the core principle of energy balance actually is, yet how incredibly complex and confusing the constant stream of misinformation manages to make it seem for people just trying to get healthier. It really raises an important question for you, the listener. In this world that's just packed with endless diet noise, how do you actually learn to find the signal?
That's a powerful thought to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into weight loss myths. We hope this conversation helps you cut through some of that noise and figure out what truly works for you.